Good morning, good afternoon, perhaps, for some of you. Welcome to today's episode of Selling That House. My name is Bill. If you are joining me in this episode for the first time, if you have enjoyed some of our previous episodes, hello to you. Happy fall, depending on where you are at. First thing first, I want to bring in my co-host, Chris, into today's conversation. Let's bring him in here. Chris, how are you?
Doing great, William. How you doing?
Doing well. You're looking snazzy, buddy.
Yeah, I've got some appointments I need to run on after this one today.
I hear you. I hear you. So, Chris, as part of our episode today, before we invite our special guest into today's conversation, do you want to share maybe an update of some local current happenings in your part of Chicagoland?
Well, we're heading to the fall here. We just finished up Scarecrow Festival here this last weekend here in St. Charles. Our office did participate. We did a scarecrow for the event. Halloween's just around the corner, so there's all kinds of festivities starting here. And one thing that we're going to be doing down here too, November 16th, my office partners all the time with Anderson Humane, and we're doing a adoption event here on November the 16th, and we'll talk more about that on a future episode.
Wonderful, wonderful. And for those of you who are watching us, if you perhaps are or want to be a dog, cat, or animal parent, Anderson Humane Society nonprofit, it's a great way of rehoming those furry ones that we all love. So let's do this. Let's welcome our special guest into today's conversation. And he's coming to us, by the way, for all of you watching us, he's coming to us from a different part of the USA. So here goes. Hello, Mark.
Hey, William, how you doing today?
We're doing good. We're doing good. What's it like? What's it like right now in Southwest Florida?
A little bit of a cold spell currently. We are right in the 60s, 70s. So it's a little chilly for us, Floridians. But still, short sleeve weather. But it's a little chilly for us.
Gotcha. But hey, yeah. But hey, you used to be from the Midwest.
Correct.
So, right? Maybe you're losing some of your toughness.
I lost that about 12 years ago.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, and Chris, as we welcome Mark into our conversation today, I love teasing Mark because, as you now know, he used to live in the upper Midwest, and now he's transplanted himself, his entire family to Southwest Florida. So welcome. Today, thank you for sharing your time to join in this conversation with me and Chris. Chris, do you want to ask Mark a couple of softball questions?
Sure. So Mark, a little bit of background on me. I've also been a broker for 20 years. I own an office here in Chicagoland as well. Sounds like you did every Midwest realtor's dream. You went down to somewhere warm to sell. How'd that all happen?
So about 15 years ago, my wife and I made the decision that we were kind of tired of the Ohio winters and the blissful cold chill that you guys get up there, and moved to where we consider paradise. So we were like, you know what? Let's trade the snow for some sand, and let's get out of Ohio and move to Florida.
Were you a broker before you went to Florida?
No, I was not. Actually, I was in the car business before I moved to Florida.
Yeah. And what brought you to real estate?
So I used to play hockey. I had a bad hockey accident where I dislocated my hip and broke my femur. And at that point, it was kind of like a change in my mentality. It took me 6 months to learn how to walk again. So I had a lot
Wow.
of time to myself to think. And I was like, do I really want to work on cars the rest of my life? My wife was in real estate at that time. So through several conversations, she's like, why don't you get into real estate with me? She's like, you're really good at talking to people and you love helping people. Why don't you get into real estate? So I jumped in head first and got my license. And within 6 months, I was a full-time realtor.
And I see. Have you guys always been with Keller, or have you guys been with anybody else?
No, we've been with a few different brokerages. Keller is where we considered home. We've been with Keller Williams now a little over 2.5 years. And it's where we kind of consider this to be home in our family.
Yeah. What part of Florida are you guys living in?
So we currently live in Fort Myers. We service from Naples to Port Charlotte in the surrounding area. So about an hour in any direction.
That's awesome. So what's the market like down there right now? Is it like up here where you're battling inventory, or what's the deal?
Yeah.
So I would say it's kind of the complete opposite. Our market's kind of just crawling right now. We have, depends on what county you're in, is going to depend on the inventory levels. But right now we are starting to see a little bit more inventory with the rise in interest rates being, pushing that 8%. Our market is not necessarily a traditional market where, you've got people moving around all the time. We have people moving all the time, but we have half of our buyers are second homes or investment properties, and the other half is for our locals that live here that are moving up or moving down in their housing situation. So that is really affecting those that live here full time. They live here, they work here. They're kind of holding tight with the interest rates being the way they are. If they don't have to move, they're not moving.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
already refied. They've already bought their house in the past, couple of years. So they're sitting at probably 3.5% interest rate, maybe a 2.5 if they got lucky.
Right.
So right now what we're seeing is second homes and investors that are still buying. It's definitely driving out a lot of cash. So we're seeing a lot of cash offers coming in still. But our market's complete opposite. We have inventory in most areas. We're seeing more negotiations, more price reductions than we've seen in the past year and a half. So the market's a little bit soft. However, things are still moving. They're just not moving as quickly as they were, let's say, a year ago.
No. I know how hard it is to start real estate businesses and things like that, and you guys heading off to someplace that's new and blazing a trail to get business. That's pretty impressive. What did you guys do to start getting work down there?
So when we first started in the business, we were basically cold lead focused. So we worked a lot of cold leads. Buyers were very prevalent. They were the easiest targets to get into. So we started off with working buyers and cold leads, and then building up our database of past clients, and then switching over and growing our sphere and how to work those opportunities. So we switched from cold to our sphere and past clients, and now Amanda and I primarily do 100% referral from our sphere and agent to agent across the country.
Right.
We don't work cold leads anymore. All of ours are either warm or hot leads coming in from our agent referral partners across the country. So we nurture those referral partnerships like it's our baby, because that's our 100% lead source, that and past clients.
So if you had a tip today for a buyer to get a house in Florida in a heated market, or a seller to get their house sold in a fast amount of time in a Florida market, what would be your number one tips for them?
So working with a buyer right now, I would give any agent or a buyer, seek out an agent that is experienced and they understand the market, and they can guide you to that. If it's a good agent in our area, they're going to know the market. They got their finger on the pulse. They're going to know that there's more negotiations happen right now. If you're financing, maybe you take a seller credit, buy down your rate a little bit. So it just depends for the buyer, if they're paying cash or if they are financing. If they're paying cash, realize that right now there's a lot of sellers that they want to sell. They're not necessarily looking at fire sales. However, try to do some negotiations. Now on the seller side, I would say sellers, definitely source a good agent that's going to be able to present your property online, because everything right now is online. If your property is not online and getting seen, there's something wrong. Yeah. But a good agent that's going to, give you honest advice, things to either fix up on your house, make it presentable, what are buyers looking for, getting the house prepped and ready to sell, or you're taking the house as it is and understanding that, okay, our market is this set of clientele, but we need to price it in that category, versus putting some money into it and getting it to be at the top. You work with what you have, price it down a little bit to where all the other houses are at in that market, and those are what they're selling there, and be patient. The days of being on the market 3 days and having 50 offers in your inbox and it's sold in 72 hours, it's not there anymore. Yeah. It does happen, but you're basically going to undercut the strategy and put the price down so low that it's just going to drive up the bidding. But it's a chance. It's like on eBay. If you don't set a reserve, it's kind of tough. So I would say for sellers, sourcing a good agent, make sure you got the online presence with great pictures, video, 3D floor plans. Zillow's got this amazing platform now, where they'll allow you to do the 3D floor plan walkthrough. The measurements are all on there. Unfortunately, they do bury the video, but it's in there. We always do it on every property, because we want to stand out and have that online presence. And if someone's looking at your property, you want to make sure all that stuff is in front of them so they can make the best decision. It's not necessarily wasting the seller's time with a bunch of showings. And then networking with your agents in the area, to get that property sold.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. What do you feel like values are going to be like in your area going forward? Do you feel like you guys have seen a massive increase and now you're going to see more modest, or do you feel as if they're still, going up at a higher than average rate? Like in Chicago, we're still going up here at too fast of a rate on the values.
So I would say currently, a lot of Southwest Florida is controlled by new construction. Yeah. So new construction really drives our market. So we kind of have to reflect on where new construction's at and what they're doing to the resale market. So the past year, we saw new construction kind of going down in price and offering more commissions, because before they were often like nickels on the dollar for new construction. But now they're back to paying, 3% plus bonuses or whatnot to get the houses to move. So looking at new construction, over the past year, they kind of dropped their prices. So that kind of reflect on the resale market, kind of lowering those prices down. Right now, we're kind of holding kind of firm on our prices. Anxious sellers are taking less, which is not helping. But everybody's got their situation that they're willing to sell and, move out of Florida if that's what they want to do. So right now we're kind of seeing just a steady increase, but nothing dramatic. I mean, nothing you would really see on a graph that would be astronomical. Right now we're kind of holding firm, slightly going up a little bit, but it's more over a very long horizontal line versus in the short term.
So Mark, I looked up your profile a little bit here, and I see that, and you mentioned something about hockey too as well. There, you have kids that play, or did you play a lot, or what is the deal?
So I played all the way through high school, and then I kind of retired and hung up my skates for 15 years. And then when I came to Southwest Florida, I picked it back up, and I was playing at a couple local rinks, playing on a traveling team. And then, unfortunately, when I had my accident on the ice, I kind of hung my skates up again.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the maybe like the 50 and over. Maybe I'll come back and play the 50 and over.
I played a real lot as a kid. I played a lot up here in Illinois and stuff. My kids play a bit too, so we're huge hockey fans.
Yeah, one of my daughters plays softball.
Nice.
So yeah, hockey's an expensive sport. That's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you, Mark. William, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right. And so for all of you who are watching this, or maybe you're just listening to the audio transcription of this, it's now so apropos, Mark, that you and Amanda are part of Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment Division, right? Where you're helping the up and coming professional athletes, and so be it. If they happen to play hockey, you know how to kind of roll with them.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So as we wrap up, I want to put you in the hot seat, Mark, because when we most recently caught up with each other so I could ask for your time to guest in today's episode, I remember that day when I called you. You were kind enough to answer my call, and then I said, well, hey, how's business? And OMG, what you shared back with me, I'm like, Mark, that's a great story. We got to make sure we can share just enough about it to help our brothers and sisters in the business of real estate. So talk to us about your experiences recently selling property where it's either an estate property, someone passed away, it went into probate. What did you learn through all of that experience that you can share with our brothers and sisters?
So one thing I would suggest is, besides working with a great title company or a great attorney, whoever does your title work, if you ever have any questions on the deeds or anything like that, something that's not clear cut and dry, make sure that you've got somebody that you can count on to get a second opinion and look at it. Make sure you don't have any title issues moving forward, for one. And I'll go into the story in a second if you want.
Okay.
But two, being in Southwest Florida, people have bought property here for many, many, many years, passed down through generation to generation. Sometimes these properties have to go through probate. Sometimes they've never been done. People are just paying the taxes and they've never been switched over. Right. So no matter where you're at in the country, I mean, I think this applies not just our area, but make sure you've got a couple different probate attorneys that you could, have on speed dial. You may need a favor one day. So I would definitely say networking with probate attorneys, trust attorneys, anybody that does wills. You never know what you're going to need, especially in real estate. Never thought I'd ever have to go through any of that. But we do have a lot of properties that come to us and they do have to go through probate. So we work closely with our probate attorneys, and we recommend, like, when we looked at some deed, and there's an individual that's on the deed, or maybe there's two individuals on the deeds that are not supposed to be on the deeds anymore. Obviously, those properties are going to have to go through probate. So networking with your probate attorneys to make sure that you can have a smooth transaction and you're providing a service to your clients to get it done very swiftly. So to get into the story, so I had a client that it was a husband and wife on the deed, and they had their son on the deed as a single male. When I looked at all the county records, it just showed the mom, who was the last living on the online on the county records.
Yep.
There have been several modifications to the loan, to the mortgage, and there was several. We're going back to 1996.
Okay.
So there was a large span of documents. So when I looked at it, it looked like it was only the mother left.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we get through, it's on the market, several showings, and they reach out and said, hey, I think we're going to need to get the will set up. The mother's not doing so well. And we want to just make sure everything, if something were to happen, who's all on the deed. So I look at it again and I'm like, well, it looks like it's just your mom.
Right.
But I'm like, just for a second opinion, I sent it over to my title company, pulled a favor, and had a look at it. And turns out, going all the way back, the son was never probated off, and it did not have right of survivorship.
Mm.
So we had an issue there. So we were going to have to remove the son.
Right.
So that was going to have to go through probate. So we pull the property off the market temporarily, try to get it in front of the probate attorney to get this done as quickly as possible. Then we'll go back on the market.
Right.
Well, within about a week and a half, the mother passes away. So now they did have the will set up, notarized and everything. However, now the property has to go through the full probate.
Got it.
The one son is not on there.
Yeah.
He does have the rights to the property through the will, but unfortunately now the property has to go completely through probate.
Yeah.
Another one I had, client came to me, said, hey, my aunt is looking to sell this property. I said, okay, great. I'll look at it. And I go, well, your aunt's name's not on the deed. And she's like, oh, that is her husband who's passed away.
Okay.
But it was willed to her.
Okay.
Okay, great. Still got to go through probate. So I send them over my probate attorney. They get the probate done. They reach back out to me about 2.5 months later. Hey, we're ready to go on the market. It's done, over with. We've got the probate docs. Everything's done. Okay, we go on the market. Sits on the market for about 60 days, and we get a contract on it. We're supposed to close. She passes away 2 days prior to closing, before she could sign her docs.
Ouch.
So now the property's got to go back through probate to go to the sister.
Right.
So
That's a lot of relationships that you accumulated, Mark.
yes, and that's why I say, like, making those connections with people. Like my title company is on speed dial. I can contact them anytime. I can contact my attorneys and have them do a review on things. Same thing with the probate. Making those connections. In this business, you are going to encounter so much, and when you encounter something that's out of the normal, and somebody else has to fix it for you, that's a connection for you now that you need to nurture. Yeah. Because that person can send you business, but yet you can send them more business in the future.
Well said. Well said. And to add my cliche, Mark, I think maybe you've heard it. Chris, I think I've shared this with you. And the cliche is real simple. Real estate is a team sport. And there are times you need to have the right team on the field. And just like Mark said, everyone, all of you watching or listening, that one player, you guys are big sports fans. I am too, to a degree. Sometimes you need to pull that one player, that one special player from the sideline to get on the field so that it can help you move that ball to the finish line, right?
Absolutely.
So, Mark, thank you so much for sharing your time with me and Chris today. The stories that you just shared with all of us watching and listening is so important because, yes, this business that we're all in, you can't always do something just by yourself. You need help. So build those relationships. For those of you who are watching, that might be probate, trust, will, estate planning attorneys. Hey, a huge shout out to all of you. You've got new friends who may be knocking on your door that want to build a relationship with you. So as we wrap up to today's episode, for those of you watching, if you happen to be a real estate broker with a unique story, maybe you transplanted from the Midwest to Southwest Florida or the Atlantic side of Florida or wherever you're at in the US, and you have an interest to guest in our episode of Selling That House, all you need to do is simply scan this QR code. Chris Lobrillo and myself would be glad to start a conversation with you. And then, of course, find the right date and time to bring you into our conversations. So, gentlemen, as we wrap up, thank you both for your time. Mark, until we talk again.
Absolutely. Pleasure, guys.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, William.